Thank you, Sheena. Anybody have any leads or good deeds or needs? What do we need? Yeah.
We need a nap, but I got coffee. We're good. Make my own coffee with my own sweet cream. You go to the coffee shop nowadays, it's like $10 for a fancy pants drink. No, seriously, what do we need? So we're looking for more multifamily deals. We're sourcing quite a few right now. Some of you are actually evaluating some of them, so it's pretty sweet. So, but we're always looking for bigger ones. I've got a group of folks that need to buy some big properties, so we've been looking for larger stuff. So if anybody knows of 2, 3, 4, 500 unit complexes, let us know. Right now is a good time. We can talk about this later. Right now is a good time to buy big multifamilies and commercials because of what's happening with the inflation. There's a lot of owners who are now negative cash flow, so they're needing to get out of their assets. So something that we need. That'd be cool. Anybody else got a need?
Good deed.
And I think we're looking, Corey, aren't we looking for some good loan originators too? That might be cool.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, well, so right now, if anyone on the call is interested or knows somebody, we're looking to bring on more loan officers. It's kind of crazy because our little company right now is positioned like we're in the best position we've probably ever been in, and we've been doubling down for the last 5-6 months, and we're ready to bring on more people. So if you know anybody, one thing though is a big disclaimer is that you have to be in the office at 3:30 or 4 in the morning Hawaii time. Unfortunately, it's not so much something that we want to do, it's what we need to do since we're 6 hours behind most of our capital providers. The money starts in New York, right? So that's one thing, full disclaimer, expectations got to be set right. So, but if anybody knows anyone, you don't have to have any experience. They just have to be willing to learn and have that little extra inside, and be a good number two, someone who knows how to follow, learn, serve, lead from the back, all that. So we're looking. So please, if anybody knows, send them our way. All right, I think that's it. Well, we'll keep an eye out for Greg to see if he pops on. And actually, Tay, did you guys end up getting that deal funded?
Yes. So oddly enough, I've been talking to a lot of people who have self-directed IRAs. So I'm learning how to produce a proper P-note for that because the custodian has to review and such. So I've got a couple lenders this week that are doing it from their SD IRA. The only thing is it just takes a few days for wire, the funds to get through. But other than that, yeah, pretty good.
Good.
I think we did, yeah. The flip is funded. We're just kind of Aiden is not. I think we need to finalize like our numbers, like our do from buyer. But yeah,
Perfect.
Thank you, Corey.
Okay. Good. Nice.
What do you need? What do you need on that deal, Tay?
So I think it was probably around 45K. I'm so sorry, it's really loud, but yeah, it was around 45K. There's a huge margin on that deal, so we feel comfortable with it as a flip, and we ran it as a worst case scenario. We're still walking away with money. Obviously, not the best ROI, but we're not losing money. So in the worst case scenario, really high rehab, way longer hold time. But we're still trying to raise capital for this 13 unit because we're asking for 18 to 24 months on that one. So it's a bit, it takes a little longer to convince people to invest for that long. And it's because basically in January when we locked it up, we put our own funds in it, and we're trying to get our funds back basically by bringing in second liens into the deal. But we're asking for 18 to 24 months, so people are just a little more reluctant to lend for that long.
Nice. What's your first position debt? What are you using?
So we have, it's the company's a Texas company called Park Place Finance, and we are just under 800K on that one. And the second lien, we're trying to raise, like we've been raising, we already got some chunk from it, but we need, the total raise is 550,000 for our down and repairs on the 13 unit.
So you're gonna do is it a bridge loan for the 800 with Park Place?
Yeah, and we're already going through the refinance. It might be a rate and term for now because Park Place is at 10 something percent. And the rate and term should be around 7-8%.
Gotcha. So you're gonna refinance out into a Fannie product?
Honestly, we every week we're kind of like submitting paperwork to the broker. I have no idea what kind of product he's getting us, honestly. Kind of because we're not quite there yet. We had to submit taxes, and there's Jojo, Shannon, and Kevin, and myself. So 4 people, 4 timelines, 4 busy lives. So it's just a bit slower than the usual refinance process.
Yeah. Well, if you talk to the broker, try see if you can ask them if they can get that, if that asset would qualify for a Fannie product. Because
Yes,
right
okay.
now we're putting in Oklahoma, we're putting some folks into a Fannie product. Dude, 5%. Yeah, crazy. And it's
Wow, yeah, that would be amazing.
so yeah, no, it's
Awesome.
it's game changing. And the nice thing about
Oh, yes.
Fannie now is that for anybody who doesn't know what Fannie is, it's not your Okole. It's a government sponsored financing opportunity. But the nice thing is that we're hearing a lot of talk, like especially like what's his name, Ken McElroy. A bunch of people are talking about how so many of these multifamilies are now becoming negative cash flow because of the inflation, and they're having to refinance out at high interest rates, which is turning everything upside down. So that's the one challenge we have of buying right now, is that if we don't get something that's longer than 3 to 5 years, we may end up in a position where we're going to refinance out, and then you're like super high, right? Or even higher. Hopefully not, but as they say in business, you can't bet on hope. You gotta go with the actual. So right now what we're trying to do is get as much as we can under Fannie, and that just seems to work out better. So explore that, because I think you'll find that that's going to be such a big difference on your cash on cash.
For sure. Honestly, right now, we come out of pocket every month on utilities. The rent literally covers that hard money loan. It's like we collect 8,700-ish in rent, and that loan is 8,600 and change. So all utilities is out of pocket, but we knew that going into it. We've got 2 vacant units that Shannon and Kevin renovated, furnished, trying to put on the midterm rental that should generate perfect at that point for no cash out of pocket by then. But then after the refi, even a couple of points will help so much. So I will talk to the broker about Fannie. Thank you.
What about RUBS? Can you do RUBS?
Yes, which we will. We're like 1 unit at a time type of situation.
Yeah, no, usually that has to happen that way because you got
Yeah,
leases but
right.
RUBS should eliminate that utilities, which would be really good.
Yeah, we have about half of the occupied units already in mid lease. So this is the plan. Everyone that has an expired lease, where after we tenant the 2 right now that are ready, get them rented out, we're going to start going towards the ones who have expired leases and we want to turn that entire building into midterm rentals because it's in that kind of location. So same thing, like 1 unit at a time. And like if someone leaves, we have to renovate, furnish, rent it out, and then it'll just be unit by unit.
Gotcha. So
But
you're
by
gonna
that
be
time, that's why we're like, we may not be able to do the rubs. And we're actually like Shannon guys are very involved with all of the tenants and the building, they're there very often. So we're trying to get away from the wind. So okay, MTR, and then that's why we haven't really talked about doing rubs, even though everybody has like their own electrical meter. But if we're looking into doing midterm, that just doesn't make sense to get all of that going, and then we're gonna just let them go and midterm it. So
yeah.
we'll see. We can, okay, sorry. There's one guy that we're going to keep because he seems to be a really good he's not like a custodian or person who's there 24/7. He's
Yeah.
really good at reporting issues and such.
Yeah.
So
Unofficial resident manager.
One guy long term.
Yeah.
One long-term guy, and everybody else will be MTR. But we're doing it 1 unit at a time.
Nice.
So Jay, just a thought. So it sounds like you're going to be negative at closing for a short period of time on income because you're going to cover utilities, right? So you're probably going to do this already, but might be a good idea when you do the raise is raise enough cash to cover at least 3 to 6 months of your bills. Just in case something stalls out, a tenant suddenly stops paying or something weird happens, then you're not having to like fully take out of your own pocket, but you got some stuff in reserves. Yeah.
Yes, that's part of why we're over raising.
That's perfect. Yay, you guys are on it.
Thank you.
I like it. Oh, that's exciting. Anything else we can all do to help you out besides send you prayers and love?
Add money to the prayers and love.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you guys.
That's awesome. That's good stuff. Anybody else got any other leads, needs? Any challenges anybody wants to talk about?
I got 2 leads, Keiko. One is close to me in Port Orchard, and one is in Mercer Island.
Nice.
Both. So the Port Orchard one got sent to me on my Facebook from a wholesaler. Purchase
What's the
price of
address?
one. Hold on. Let me get it to you. Give me a second here.
Tina, can you
Address
drop?
is 4147 West Pleasant Street, Port Orchard, Washington.
All right. What are they asking?
195. Tax assessed is 309, and a Redfin estimate of 342. It's a lack of probate situation, so I kind of had to Google what that meant, and I guess it's like an affidavit to replace probate. So the tenant is the heir. Both parents passed away, but when I typed in the property address to Privy, even though Privy doesn't give too much stuff in Washington State, it did show me a notice of foreclosure that was issued on December of last year. And it looks like the auction date it was set for 4/28 of this month. So I asked the wholesaler, I was like, oh, is it going to go to auction? And he's like, well, it's a lack of probate situation. He kind of answered it indirectly. So I'm thinking maybe he wants to try and sell it before it goes to auction so he can get his assignment fee.
And what does he want?
195 was the purchase price. He sent me a bunch of pictures to my Facebook Messenger. It is like it's a big mess on the inside. A lot of it'll be pretty much a full cosmetic rehab on the inside. I don't know about down to the studs, at least repaint, new fixtures, new flooring. But the detached garage, it looks like there was a refrigerator in one of the pictures. So I'm not sure if someone's living in it. I don't know if it could be maybe converted to a living space, permitted. But it looks like they're using it as a living space, the detached garage. So the main structure is a 3-1 with a detached garage. The lot is a decent size, little under 1/4 acre.
Yeah.
So that was one. And then the other one, the Mercer Island, I know you and Corey did a flip there, but it was just a Facebook post. I didn't reach out to the guy. His name is Michael Wynn, and he's looking for a capital partner.
Oh.
That one, the purchase price is 1.35 mil, but with seller financing. At
Nice.
3%. And he was looking for a capital partner of 200,000 and willing to split equity at 50%.
What's the address?
For that one, he did not put, and I'm looking at I saved the thing here. He did not, he said if I reach out to him, whatever, he'll send he'll send an address. He didn't write no address. I just been reading the comments, and he's been trying to get a walkthrough with contractors to get a scope of work. But the wholesaler wasn't able to set it up, so he's waiting for another date, and he'll update everyone when he has another date. But I don't think he found a partner yet. But that one sounded, so according to his post, it's a Mercer Island. King County Records is valuing at 1.1 mil 889. ARV comp support 2 mil to 2.5 mil, depending on finishes. It's located in an A+ rating neighborhood, very desirable, 4-bed, 2-bath, 3,700 square feet. Lot size of 6,800. And yeah, he's looking for a down payment of 200,000 plus the rehab, but he doesn't know how much the rehab is going to be yet.
The 3,700 square foot house in Mercer Island is going to be expensive.
Yeah, so that's what I heard too. So I was like, I was just thinking, shoot, I don't have all that capital right now because I have a bunch locked up in private money loans. I have about 100K liquid, but I wanted to try and see if I could, get in this deal somehow, either with bringing on more partners. But I didn't reach out to him yet. I just read his post, and I, turned notifications on to see, and some people showed interest, but I don't think he locked up a partner yet. He seems like yeah.
Oh no, Mercer's fun. We did 2 houses over there, and it's just
I like how you use that word fun.
it's fun. It's
That's a great way to put it.
The permitting is absolute nightmare. We took out 1 tree. For every tree you take out, you got to plant 9. So I mean, there's some nuances with Mercer. We know it pretty well. So if you decide you want to go into it, let me know. We ended up spending a lot more money on those rehabs because high-end people want high-end stuff, and they want it perfect. Like, they need the grout lines perfect. They need, everything's got to be absolutely perfect. And then you got to do Viking appliances. So I mean, you're spending 40 grand on appliances alone. So but it's doable.
Yeah,
it's possible. But dude, your other one on West Pleasant, if it's a foreclosure and you can get that down to get it closed, it's not a bad value if you can get it that 185, 180 mark, because if it's nicely renovated, you probably get 375 to maybe even a little bit higher.
Yeah, and that's really, I pass it on my way to work every day, that area. So
it's a great location. Great location. Port Angeles is awesome, and that price point's very affordable. So if you stay under 400K, get people, especially military housing benefits, right? We'll pick it up. We probably go in on you with that one. Just pay cash for it if you get it for 180.
Yeah,
that's a great.
You may be able to. I mean, if you have 100,000 liquid, Jake, you might be able to take that down yourself. You just gotta leverage hard money if you wanted to do the project. But
I really like. I was reading this book, right, and there's 4 things that you can offer. I think it's time, money, experience, and security. I got the time and money, but I don't have the experience and the security. So I think for my first couple ones, I wouldn't mind partnering, to get more comfortable and learn. And then I don't mind sharing profits at all. I'm not trying to do that.
You were a great partner on that triplex, bro. It was awesome.
Thanks. Yeah.
I'll do it with you. In fact, let's get rid of the triplex. Throw that money in there. We just pay cash for it.
Good. Yeah. I can. So should I just wait to see if it goes?
So what's that? Ben's in.
Yeah, I'm happy to help out if I can, or maybe we partner up on something since I'm around.
All right, on Ben. Awesome,
guys. Let's
I
start
got
doing
some experience I can lend to you.
Yeah,
I like this.
Hey Ben, you know what? You know what we should do is, since you're up here and Jacob's up here, the 3 of us get together at least by Zoom, and we could easily do a direct to seller campaign so we can get rid of these wholesalers and then keep that for ourselves and then find some properties.
Yeah.
There's gonna
You
be
know,
more,
those dirty
money.
wholesalers, right?
many more foreclosures coming in, you know?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
So yeah, it's a good opportunity. But next steps though for that one, Jake, I would say call the wholesaler and just find out how urgent it is, you know, and again, it's always best to not be desperate for a deal. So play
Yeah.
hardball and just be like, you know, hey, if this works, great, but here's our number. And we're willing to come in at say, you know, just gotta run the numbers on it a little bit more. But I think that 180 mark is probably pretty good. This is such a small house. You shouldn't spend more than
Yeah.
50, 60K on it. If
Mhm.
it needs a roof, we're talking 60, 70, but still, yeah,
Yes.
you're all in around 250. And if you can get to 350 to 375 or more, that's charity. It's a good sized
Yeah.
lot. So 9,000 square foot lot. It may be worth checking if we could add a legal detached dwelling.
Yeah, I heard all the counties are different, right? In Washington, I know Seattle. That's a big play. Like that's the popular hot thing investors are doing
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Is the
They have like pre-approved plans and everything, so you don't even have to worry about permitting too much.
oh okay.
I've got a buddy who's a general contractor here. He works out with me in the morning, and that's all he does. He has one plan for your daddy and three color choices, and he'll do all the work. He's turnkey, but he's expensive. But people love it because he just gets a job done. So he's got this
Yeah.
massive niche. So yeah, cool. Look it up and then let us know.
Okay,
get-
I'll reach out.
Jacob, you get Ben's number.
Yeah, I think I do. We
I
talked
got
before.
yours. I can hit you back again. It's been a while, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, I have it. I just checked my contacts. I got it.
Well, hit me too. Hit me too. I like be hit.
I don't think I have your number, Keiko.
Oh,
Loop
I
us
got your
in.
email.
That's how you know Kiko was excited about a deal. Me
I'm Chinese, bro. I like any good deal. I hate stupid.
too.
That's a good one. What the trees, LOL. Oh, Tay. Yeah, Mercer Island was cool. We'll have to show you links of the houses though. They turned out gorgeous. Like I still think
Oh
this
yeah,
is our
you
best
got
friend.
like you guys crushed it. I forget which one was the downslope. Which street was that? That was
It was also Mercer. They both were on Mercer Way, but there was one that was on a massive hillside for sure. But
Yeah.
the view was amazing.
yeah. Like, you guys did like yeah. I
I
think
was-
to this day that was one of the most beautiful is the one you guys did on. I forget the street, not the 3-story one, but like the
Oh, the 2-story one with the big
2-story. Yeah.
kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just. I'd do another Mercer if you got a steal of a deal, but I don't
Oh.
think you want to partner with somebody with a joint venture on that because in Mercer Island you gotta have full control and not chimp out,
Yeah.
cheese out. You have to hit if you go like rent ready kind standard rehab white shakers with quartz, it just won't sell and you won't make money. It'll sell, it just will come in really low. So you gotta go
Okay.
full, like I mean full hardwood, like not LVP kind, like hardwood floors and
Wow.
yeah, those buyers are all the bells and whistle. I mean, those buyers. I remember listening to them as they walked through the house, and I was pissed because I'm like, you know how hard we worked on this house, and you nitpick over that. It's like, are you kidding? And I
Yeah.
wanted to tell them you should see the other crap we do. Yeah, no, that was like our highest end houses, and it was like, I think even higher than our Kahala houses, Corey. Like these were
Yeah.
like super high end.
Remember that one we did in Portlock, and then like just the soft close in the cabinets weren't installed yet, or it was missed, and like they're like, oh no, we can't go to market without the soft close cabs. You know, it's like, oh yeah, if you don't have soft close cabs in those neighborhoods, you might as well like torch the thing. It seems like.
Yeah.
Like every little thing, you know, you gotta pay attention to. And I swear, I Mercer Island, man, I feel like I just had PTSD, I think, because that the market swings, or at least back then, what was that, like 2018 or 2019? The markets like did like 2 big swings by the time while we held that project, man. I don't think my heart can take that anymore.
I know Corey was stressed and I got gray hairs, but it was great.
Yeah, it was a fun ride, but I don't know.
But Jake, Mercer Island though, I would easily conservatively say 150 a square foot. So if it's 3,000 square feet, 450. Because
that's
you
just
need-
for the house. That's like not including like driveway if needed, or right.
Yeah, I mean, basic outside, paint but I mean, we're talking really, you gotta be really high end. Like all the built-ins, the fancy walls, the built-in walk-in closets and the seated jetted tub with the charger next to the toilet. So when you take one doo-doo, you can charge your phone. I mean, like all those things these people
Hey
want.
man, yeah, that one's key. Ever since you started pointing that out and putting it in the houses, like now it's like, yeah, it's got to be in all of our houses.
It's clutch. It's mandatory now, but now people are getting crazier. It's like you got to have wine racks or walk-in wine rooms that are glass on one side. So when you walk in the dining room, you got an accent wall that's really a wine wall, that's really a wine freezer, and then you got to have walls that open up to the outside. And oh, that's crazy. It'll be fun.
We're not fancy like that in Hawaii, man. Hawaii's different. Seattle,
Yeah.
I noticed it's like, oh, every rehab home looks like HGTV. I'm like, wow.
Or Vegas. I mean, that $25 million house we went to.
Oh yeah, that's next level.
That's not next level, dude. That is stupid level.
Yeah, that's
Not even-
unnecessary. I don't think I would feel like home. It's just too fancy.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable. Anyways, that's good, Jacob. Those are great fun. Anybody else got anything you want to?
Yeah, let's do some deals. Let's do some deals. What else is out there? There's gonna be a lot. I mean, actually, there's a lot of news still going on. It seems like every week is like something new. But okay, Cole, what are you seeing now in Seattle? Because Seattle has been taking the same ride as Vegas, right?
Well, so the major concern that most of what I'm talking to a lot of folks on right now is the inflationary impact on large multifamilies. Kind of, I alluded to that earlier. There's a lot of people who bought 3 years ago, 4 years ago, even 2 years ago on 3-year notes that now their notes are coming, their bridge loans are now coming due, so they have to refi. And so they were at the time, or right now, they're in a 3-4% type debt, and then now they're going to have to go up to 7-8%. And so overnight they are now negative cash flow, and so overnight their equity is gone, which overnight it means all the LP's money has disappeared. And so for a lot of our investors that I work with and consult with, who are owners and GPs, the best thing to do is to open communication to the LPs and kind of let them know quick what's going on so they don't find out later. And if anyone here is an LP on any deal, I would definitely ask the question of your GPs is, how much longer do we have on the current note? Because if they're going to have to refinance this year and next year, it's going to be pretty ugly. So it's good to start asking those questions. And then the next questions is, how are you managing expenses? Because if you're going to go into negative cash flow, you either have to increase income or decrease expenses. So might as well start now. So that's a lot of what we've been focused on. Today, I spent 3 hours brainstorming that with a couple of folks on properties, because the reality is people are going to start losing properties, and they're now, a lot of them are going on market quietly just to try to get sold before the refinance.
So they're taking a hit. They have, or I mean, some of them, I'm sure they're taking a hit then, right?
They're going to take a little bit of a hit, but they don't have to pay the origination points on the refi, right? And then they don't have to get into a new note and then try to carry a negative cash flow. So right now, while they still have positive cash flow, they're looking at it and saying, hey, we got 6 months, we got 12 months. And they're looking at it and they're like, we're going to have to refinance out at this huge number unless they can get a Fannie product. But most people are still in the midst of stabilization because not everybody, many people who had a stabilization plan over the last 2 years, the stabilization timeline went much slower because construction costs went up, materials disappeared. So everything slowed down. So everybody who thought they'd be done by now, most everybody is not done right now. So even our 160 unit, we're making $120,000 a month in income right now. Our projections had us, as of May 1st, we were supposed to make 160 a month. So we're 40,000 less income per month because of the fact that renovations are taking longer, because we couldn't get materials, and because we couldn't find labor. And so a lot of people are dealing with the same thing. So the challenge is then they get to a point where they're ready to refinance and they're like, well, I can't refinance into a Fannie because we don't have enough completed for Fannie's qualifications. That kind of thing. So what people are doing is we're seeing a lot of stuff come on market, multifamilies, like some of the stuff I'm telling you about, Corey, that we should buy is like just whisper prices. People are just like, dude, get me out, but we can't make noise because I don't want my investors to know this is for sale. Because then there's panic, right? So it's better to get a buyer, and then suddenly tell the investors, it's like, hey, we're cashing out. You're all going to make money and it's going to be a little bit less, but we're cashing out early. And so, yay, good news, right? We get to get out, as opposed to 6 months from now, oh no, we just refinanced. We need to do a cash call, which means going back to all the investors and saying, we need all of you to kick in another 50 grand so we don't lose the property. So then all of a sudden now becomes bad news. They lose trust, GPs lose credibility. So if you're not paying attention to the news, one thing that's really interesting is a lot of folks are saying that the collapse of this economy or this recession may be largely due to large commercial assets and the lending space around it. So I'm not saying neither here nor there on that, but it's definitely interesting to hear what they're saying. Anybody else hearing something similar?
I think that's very necessary to talk about. And when you're talking about the backlogs and the added timing, we're seeing that as well on, single family, right? We had like 37 loans that we originated that were still open and not closed out a year later. They're all hitting maturity. And when you look at them, like I'm starting to wonder, like are we underwriting poorly, or why is there so much loans taking so long, right? And you start to realize that's inflation, right? That's what inflation feels like, is everything gets backed up, takes longer, supply chains were affected. There was a boom in building and buying because of COVID, right? And then we had also low interest rates, so money was basically free, so everybody's kind of just buying materials, doing projects, so that takes up, appraisers were backed up like 4 weeks, title was taking longer, everything gets clogged up. And so, like, looking back, it's like that's we got to feel the weight of inflation, and we're still feeling it now. It takes a while for everything to iron out, right? And so I think with the delays, it's nationwide for sure. And it's caused because of all the backlog and that's inflation. Like we felt it. So Dante, you got a question? Or got something?
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on Kikoa on the multifamily side. That's what everyone's talking about right now. Everyone's just waiting for that big fire sale that all that loans are going to be due. So all the big guys are talking about it right now. Like, we should see like a big sale going on probably at the end of this year or early next year on the multifamily side.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of distress selling. 100% agree. End of this year, early next year. But for those of us who are savvy like you, Dante, we get in the market now and we can write our own deal before everybody starts selling. So we can start working with sellers, create seller financing opportunities, take over loans, figure out some ways to help, keep their pride, but get us a good deal. Dante, where are you looking right now?
We're looking at the Carolinas and Georgia. We tried looking in Texas and Florida, but it's still a lot of people still hunting over there, and the insurance are high on those two states. So we're trying to switch our focus to the guys that not really looking, mainly focusing on Georgia, where a lot of the big guys are not looking in.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You're totally right on insurance in Houston for sure because of what's happened with flooding over the last couple of years. So insurance premiums went crazy. But Dallas, Waco, that whole stretch from Dallas, Waco to Austin, it's kind of like it's going to fill in the next several years. So that's a really good area of Texas. Parts of Georgia, of course, are really solid too. And then South Carolina, I don't know too much about South Carolina. I was talking to a gal there who has a couple hundred units there. The challenge with with some communities is that there's not strong employers. So if we go into a deep recession, then a lot of these bigger employers will start laying off. And then all of a sudden they're going to cut back on their orders to these smaller companies who are based in these other smaller cities. And then suddenly the domino effect is there's going to be lots of layoffs. That's going to take longer in the smaller communities to come back. So we're trying to find larger MSAs to purchase, so that way we're more protected. In case there's a downturn and a lot of unemployment, our tenants have lots of other job opportunities as opposed to having to not be able to pay rent or have to leave.
Yeah, that's another big factor everyone's talking about right now. Like especially in Texas, they're starting to see rents go down now, so it's affecting the refinance part too. So it's starting to show the rents are starting to go down.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it's kind of everywhere. Rents are volatile. So again, it depends on the location. Yeah, huge depends on location, but for sure. Dante, you have you emailed me because Tyler's got some deals he can send you.
I think I can email you again.
Yeah, try email us.
Okay.
In
Well,
case you
Kiko, can you dive in a little deeper when you talked about Ken McElroy and his thoughts or their thoughts about
it's exactly what
rents are going to
Sam
go upside
typed
down.
right there. It's exactly what Sam typed. Sam said, I'm hearing of a commercial real estate crash this year, causing a cascade of banks with these assets on the books. Yeah, exactly what Sam said. Hey, Sam, you want to share a little bit about what you're hearing? Now Sam's like, I wish I didn't type that in.
No, that's cool, man. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I I peruse a lot of different publications and such, and it seems to be a constant theme throughout several publications that talk about a coming crash. And you hear a lot of doomsday scenarios. I don't know how bad it will be or whatever, but the common theme is that a commercial RE crash, and naturally what will wind up happening is banks having a lot of these assets on their books, and then I guess like what everybody else is by the end of the year, a lot of these assets might be coming up for fire sales.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I hear the same thing. I mean, I think Corey, to answer your question in regards to same was what Sam's saying is that because of what's happening with a lot of these banks are holding assets that they have lent on. So earlier we talked about how being the GP on a deal, you could be negative cash flow and suddenly find yourself in a place where you do have to refinance. So you got to try to find a higher interest loan, which then throws everything off. So imagine being the bank on the other side of that is now holding that asset on your books, and you're realizing that your clients who have that asset are struggling to make that monthly payment. And so suddenly as the bank, you're like, well, what's going to happen now? And so that's adding more pressure onto the banking system that is already there in light of what happened with the Silicon Valley Bank. So there's just all this tension surrounding the strength and health of banks and what assets do the banks have. And so when banks are lending on commercial real estate right now, which is in some ways worth less, the equity is gone, it's starting to become a liability instead of an asset.
Well, I thought you mentioned about they said rents are going to go upside down. So you're talking about like if they do refinance with a higher interest rate, they're going to be negative cash flow is what you're saying. So you're talking about assets that were purchased with like a bridge loan. Is that true? Is what you're saying? Okay. And then now is about time they have to refi out, right? Got it. Okay. And then so
Most people buy multifamilies, even commercial value adds with a bridge because it comes with rehab, right?
yeah. So yeah, that's a problem. I
Yeah,
see that.
But the
It
other
goes.
problem is higher expenses too, right? So everything's higher. So our 160 unit in Las Vegas, for example, when we bought it, the insurance premium was just under 30,000 a year. It now hit 100,000 a year. So
Yeah.
our pro forma just went completely south on the insurance budget. So that's by itself. And then you got labor. So we've been trying to hire some really good multilingual maintenance crews. And the challenge there is they're like, well, why would I work for you guys for 25 an hour when I could go work at the hotel for 30 an hour and get benefits? Or now they're upping it to 40 an hour because MGMs now are trying to also hire people because they're short. So in Vegas, we have a new hotel that has been sitting empty for years and now it's finally getting built. And they're going to hire like 8,000 people. Like try to imagine being an employer in Vegas in this economy, suddenly saying, I need to hire 8,000 people. So in order to make it happen, chances are, what's that hotel called again? Can't remember.
Fontainebleau.
Yeah, Fontainebleau.
Fontainebleau.
So imagine being that hotel. They're right now they're in a good position because they're raising money from investors. So they're going to raise millions of extra money to be able to hire everybody they can to get fully staffed at Grand Open. So in order to get fully staffed in this economy, they're going to have to take all that investor money and they're going to have to offer ridiculous amounts to people to come over, and they're going to steal them from Resorts World and Treasure Island. And they're like, what are you making as a housekeeper over there? 20 an hour? We'll give you $27.50 an hour and you get 2 months of vacation and this and this and this. So I mean, why would they say no? So sign up and everybody moves over. Now it causes a crisis on the other hotel, and they've also caused an overall crisis because they've raised the expectation of wages. So costs are going up. So all of this together is kind of what Ken's talking about. And I think a lot of people, like Sam's saying as well, is it's just a cascading effect that's happening. That's going to be, it's going to be interesting to watch. The Feds have now raised rates, 9 times, and it's only come down 3 points. So we've got a ways to go. So it'll be interesting.
Well, yeah, and like whenever you add like thousands of keys, right? Like even though it's Las Vegas Strip, it's like that's a big hotel. I think it's the tallest hotel over there. I think on the Strip now, besides the Stratosphere or the Strat. But the Fontainebleau, man, that thing's been through like how many market cycles, and it still has not built and opened yet, right? Because it was started before the last Great Recession. So and they're still kind of rolling the dice on it. It's had like 3 or 4 owners since then. And like now you think about it, they're going to staff up, put more hundreds of millions in there, open up the doors at the end of the year in what is looking to be, a recession, the economy would be in a recession. Like, I wonder, what's gonna happen. That's a big roll of the dice, right? You launch and open the hotel, you got thousands of keys to fill, and then nothing. So that's gonna be interesting. I mean, when the economy, I mean, we haven't Vegas, I feel, hasn't even felt the squeeze yet. Like the housing market is going down because of affordability, but unemployment, although unemployment is going down in Vegas, like it hasn't really cracked yet. When that happens, yeah, there's going to be problems. People can't pay rent. That's when you get squeezed from the other side. Right now, you're getting squeezed by the cost of capital, right? And that's why when people have a balloon that's due and they have to refinance, and all their pro formas 3 years ago were run off of, a different cost of capital structure, then you're going to be negative cash flow when you refi. But that's just getting squeezed from one side, the capital side. When you start getting squeezed because the economy, people are losing their jobs and they can't pay rent, that's when it gets scary. So let's try to stay ahead of it.
I don't think Vegas is going to have that crisis of employment like other markets will. And because, I mean, think about it. Amazon just announced they're laying off 8,000 people. Fontainebleau is hiring 8,000 people. So
we don't know. Like that's why, like it could be a roll of the dice, right? Because they could hire 8,000 people, and then if the economy is bad and nobody's spending money out there, they're gonna have to cut jobs like everybody else, right? So the economy really matters for Vegas because if everybody has money to spend, Vegas is booming. If people are losing their jobs, Vegas is not booming, right?
So
Unless
the difference with Vegas is that it's an addiction. So no matter how much money
okay,
you
that's exactly what I was gonna say.
people will always spend money on gambling. In fact, the worse the economy gets, the more people gamble. It's the
That is
craziest.
true.
And the poorer people get, the more they take risks on gambling. And
Mhm.
that's why, to me, gambling is such a terrible industry. And it's not, it's hard because you're taking money away from sometimes people who, hard-earned senior citizens giving away their social security checks, hoping they'll win that blackjack thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying go invest in Vegas just because it's going to be the one place that doesn't have unemployment, but it is ironic that there is so much employment happening in Vegas where it is not happening in other markets. So we're buying in Houston right now and Dallas, and it's interesting because what I think Dante said earlier about rents decreasing, very true. Vegas is not the case. Like, we are ahead of projections on our rent increases. So there's such a demand for working class product that rents are still going up. So that's interesting because there is so many places that are hiring. And so people are coming from other hotels around the country and are like, "Ooh, I can work in Vegas, it's cheaper." So that's, it's an interesting dynamic. The other thing to keep in mind for everybody is that as interest rates go up, cap rates go up. And as interest rates go up, cap rates is the valuation of a commercial asset. The higher the cap rate goes up, the lower your property value becomes. So just off of that simple statement, everyone's commercial real estate has decreased in value because interest rates have gone up. I hope that makes sense. But
Dive in a little deeper because I don't think that maybe dive in a little deeper about cap. So cap rate is obviously.
Yeah, so cap rates is a valuation tool for commercial real estate, and that's basically your net income divided by what you paid for the property, or what the property's for sale for, right? So that's kind of your cap rate. But as your interest rate goes up, it makes your cap rates go up as well. It's a direct correlation. A lot of different factors that do that. But if your cap rate goes higher, so like if you're at a 7 cap or 8 cap, your property value is actually lower. And if you go to a 4 cap, your property value is higher. So if you're a seller, you love it when you can sell at a 4 cap because it means that you got a really high price that you can sell it for. If you're a buyer, a 4 cap means you're buying at a really high price. So if you're a seller or you own property and the cap rate is super high, it means your value is actually super low. Does that make sense? So right now, talking about, kind of what Sam had brought up as well, with the reality of this commercial real estate, and some of these gurus are like, "Hey, everybody watch out. This could be the beginning of a massive spiral," is because if interest rates keep going up, like the feds are promising it will, it means land values will keep going down from commercial real estate. And that is where the collapse is going to come.
So, I can think of a few people off the top of my head, like you mentioned the gurus, who were buying a lot of multifamily assets during 2021, 2020, even like slightly before, right in that danger range, so, and I know for a fact, because I looked at some of these statements, we like investors, right? We have investors who have invested with this person. And so I get to see some statements, and like, you can tell that there was no discipline, I guess is the best way I can say it. There's no discipline in the balance sheet. And it leaves it open for only one clear exit strategy, which is so risky, and it's and then at that level,
What was the one exit strategy?
Their exit strategy was to refi and hold, right? Standard.
Okay.
But again, now you're on a balloon, right? So I think it was an interest only loan for 3 years.
So crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, interest only too, right? So like, can you think about that? Like, whatever the principal debt was 3 years ago, when they have to balloon and refi, they're not even paying down debt through those 3 years. So you're basically banking that the market is not going to turn at all, which, come on, that's not discipline, right? So yeah, I get it. If that's your primary exit strategy is to force the appreciation and then refinance your investors and, you know, as many people out to take money off the table, great. But what's the secondary exit strategy? What's the third? You know, so I think we just investors who are playing and or even just observing in these times are gonna make it out the other end so much more experienced and ready to go when we're ready to take the next ride up. As long as we're paying attention to like all these lessons that are being placed right in front of us, you know. So hopefully these guys like make something happen, because when you start hearing the bubble going on in the commercial space and you start looking at some of the balance sheets and the funds out there, some of them are made public, you know, and yeah, it's kind of scary, you know, because there's a lot of people. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars of private investor capital, anti down the road money that, you know, are now in these deals that might go upside down, you know. So hopefully
I have a
we're on the
question
right
on
side of
that.
it. Go ahead,
Oh,
Tay.
He's at home already.
So-
All comfy at home.
Yeah, yeah. Just got home. So, on that flip that we're closing on sometime next week, we got an appraised like ARV, like an as is and an ARV at 550,000. To stay conservative, do you guys lower your analysis for the worst case scenario? Do you deduct 10, 15, 20% off of that ARV and make sure you're still okay at that worst case scenario? Is there on the ARV, do you do something?
My
You analyze
thoughts
your
are
deal.
like it's definitely different for everyone, because one, everyone has different risk tolerance. Everyone's in a different position in their lives. Some people can take more risk than others. So your criteria is going to be different, you know, custom to you. But overall, I'd say like the way I would gauge it is in the worst case scenario and looking at trends, right? And thinking kind of what we call like common sense underwriting, you know. So common sense would tell us like, okay, the last year and a half was crazy. You know, I'm either, if I'm taking comps from the craziness, then I'm going to discount it for however much the craziness went up. You know, if it went up 32% over a year and a half and normal growth is, you know, well, I'm using this because this is Vegas numbers, 32% it went up, but Vegas was growing at about 8% year over year before COVID. And it took about a year and a half, then normal growth would tell us that's about 12%, you know, total. Minus
Okay.
32% puts us at 20%. So I'm waiting for that market. That's only one indication for me, is when I'm seeing properties at 20% below the peak comps, the craziness comps, right? But that's only one, because that's one indicator. It's still got to check another box. Like, what does today's comps look like? What do we project ARV is going to be when we're done, you know, when we're ready to exit this? And then I use that as another indicator, right? So I think it's more, you got to stack all the indicators that you can, and then make the best decision for yourself. Some people can take more risk because they don't have as much to lose, you know, right now, and vice versa, right? So that's just my thoughts. Like, common sense underwriting. Obviously, you want to be a little bit more conservative than usual. But yeah, everyone's criteria should be at least a little bit different.
Yeah, okay.
What's your thoughts,
And market,
Nicole?
the market that we're in. Okay,
So
I'll take that.
Tay, I'm gonna throw a curveball at that. Not that I disagree with Corey. I agree with him in that regard for sure. But I honestly would not pay a lot of attention right now to ARV, because it's really hard to know what the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years is going to look like, right? So right now, as many people would state, buy for cash flow. And that's why I kind of reacted a little bit earlier when you're like, ooh, we're negative cash flow. I'm like, oh, that hurts my heart. Because for me, so this is just me and our underwriting. And you saw that on our projections we did for Coffee Talk that Tyler does, is that right now for us, if we don't hit a minimum of 10% cash on cash in the first year, and it grows to like 15%, then that's a flag for us. Would we buy something at 8% in the first year? Yeah, but it's got to make real good sense. And where it makes good sense is that we have a really solid strategy. Because right now, if you buy for ARV only, you're literally guessing. I mean, there's nothing right now that would allow you to have a confidence as to what the ARV is, right? I mean, there's so many factors that are uncertain. What you can control is cash flow right now at closing. So your strategy is that you've got to do everything you can to control your strategy on income and expenses. Because if you can control income growth and expense reduction, then what happens is your net income goes up. If your net income goes up, that affects your cap rate. And no matter what the ARV is or whatever the appraisals are, so long as you have a really healthy NOI, then that cap rate at that moment in time is going to give you the best valuation possible. Does that make sense? So that's why for me, is really be careful on that cash flow situation you're in, is take a look at that. And it sounds like you have a strategy, which is great. So not having positive cash flow doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It just means that you got to have confidence in everything else. Like you've got a solid plan for income, which is midterm rentals, like you said, which is great. And in those midterm rentals, how long is it going to take to evict a couple of units so you could get there? You know, that's a big question. And then once they evict, how long is it going to take you to rehab so they're ready for midterm and furnish, right? So maybe that's 4 weeks, maybe that's 8 weeks. That's lost rent. And lost rent to me means now your income's gone down, which tells me now your negative cash flow is even more negative, right?
Gotcha.
So that makes me really nervous. But what you did on the strategy is you said you're going to raise more investor money, which then covers that delta, which is good. But one of the challenges that a lot of investors run into, and I'll say this for Corey and I as well, is that sometimes we raise investor money to fill gaps, but we got to make sure we know how we're going to fill that investor money, right? It's like they fill a temporary gap, but then later on it's like, oh, frick, we got to pay these guys back. And the asset's now going south, right? So you got to figure out a way. So not to say that that's what you're doing, but just to be really careful there. So I would say solve for that plan on how long it's going to take you to get back online for those units to get to midterm. And I would even suggest, because you've got, how many units do you have? 50, something like that? 34?
No, right now. Wait, like total?
No, this particular property, I can't remember.
This one is a 13.
Oh, okay, so a small one. So the nice thing is that you keep some units rented while you get one at a time, maybe for midterm, and be real conservative that way, so you can assess the market, and then just ratchet down those expenses like as fast as you can. So whatever they're doing, like right now, I was just telling one of my partners that we're buying a property together. I'm like, we're not going to pay property management. Like we're going to hire it in-house. It's cheaper. We'll have more control. We could tell them what to do, and when they wake up in the morning, they're thinking of us because they work for us. Where you hire outside property management, they're thinking of everybody else and the one that's barking the loudest and the tenant that's, whatever. So in an economy like this, where every penny can actually impact your bottom line, super important to have control. So a super long answer, but yeah, I would personally really evaluate how do you get your cash flow as high as possible, assuming that the values of your real estate is going to take longer to go up. In fact, it's probably going to go down. So those appraisals are only good for this moment in time, right? And this transaction. But the way Jerome Powell's talking about how he's got to increase rates even more, the higher the rates go, the lower your value goes. So just keep that in mind. Every time you hear Jerome Powell says we're increasing rates, you just be like, okay, well, there goes my value. It's gone south. So, and that value won't come back until everything stabilizes. And then market demand picks back up again, right? Because the market demand will help drive prices back up, and demand's going to come when interest rates go down, investors flood back in. So you're in a good position. If you can stabilize the asset, increase income, lower expenses, control everything you can and not waste any money, then you're in a good position that when the market turns back around, you can flip it. But for right now, you should just plan to hold it for a long time. And be okay with that. Like, okay, it's going to be a year. I was talking to one investor who owns over 1,000 doors, and he's like, I predict it'll take 24 months before we get back to a normalized market. And that's really interesting from somebody who's been around a while, right? And others are like, oh no, it's like 6 months and Jerome's going to get this thing done. And I'm like, well, 6 months ago, Jerome thought he'd get the thing done and we ain't gotten anywhere, right? So where am I going with that? Where I'm going with that is that the nice thing is that once the market turns and the interest rates do come down, I believe that now investors are going to come flocking back. And then our market values are going to soar. And so those of us who are holding assets at that time and can survive this Armageddon are going to do awesome. And so that's what we're going to do. Even on our 160 unit right now, I'm just constantly like, do we need to spend that money? Does it going to impact our ability to increase rents? Is it going to get us more tenants, etc.? So I don't know. Is that helpful?
Super helpful. Right here, you confirmed that that's why I'm doing 18 to 24 months notes, because we don't foresee refinancing at the good rates till that time period between 18 and 24 months. And I was going to ask, well, to lower expenses, where I was going was going with energy efficient, everything in there as much as we can. And that was like the one thing, like, and the property management, we already agreed to 8% there. But is there anything else, like the maintenance, the yard, the snow plowing and that kind of stuff? Like we just need to negotiate that well to keep expenses low. So over the next 18 months, our goal is to pump as much cash as possible in that property so that it has the highest possible value in a year and a half to 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you're spot on. I think a couple other things you could do is water solutions that save water usage. And there's actually in your community there, try to see if they have some free devices. So water filters, water shower heads, all that kind of stuff. So we have a program in our Houston property that has taken expenses down 45% on water usage. So the water bill went down 45%. So it went down from 40,000 a month to 30,000 a month, and it's going down to 22,000 a month. So massive difference. So that's the stuff you got to work on now. When the economy is flying, we don't think of that stuff. We're like, just shower, whatever you like, do shower. But now we're like, don't shower unless you got a water head that we want, So yeah, so all those things are good ideas. And I would also be, you said pumping a ton of money in, and I think I know what you mean by that, but I would say pump a ton of strategic money in. So, if you don't really need to repaint right now, I'd say, you know what, paint the parts where tenants are going to be bothered by their front door.
Oh,
right?
yeah. So what I meant by pumping money is like, it's to increase that NOI. It was to increase the NOI. And we're gonna put in the laundry. I mean, that's not much. It's like 1,000 to 2,000 a month, but coin operated laundry we're gonna install.
Yeah, laundry income's good. The other place that's really unique to make money, and I know it sounds horrible, is application fees, background check fees, pet application fees, like all those fees at the front end, tenants usually are willing to pay for it. It's amazing how much you can increase income that way. So something to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is fun. This is all good stuff.
All right. I like your thought process there, Kakoa, because that like our investors are in Hawaii. A lot of them is just in Hawaii, but I'm trying to get away from the whole fix and flip. So I'm excited to hear what you guys got as an option, because I know fix and flip right now is just unstable. And I totally agree with the whole ARV. We tell our students that, before we could get away with 75, 80% ARV because the market was going so crazy. But now it's like, don't focus on that and just get a lot more creative acquisition and exit strategy. So one way we're looking at is in savings is obviously the seller carryback and the sub 2. Right? But yeah, fixing and flipping is really tough now.
It's a tough time. Yeah, it's a tough time for business. Not to say don't do it. You just got to get a super good deal. Yeah, Marianne?
Yeah. I mean, if I tell them, if you can't get a 50% of them carrying it back at maybe 5.5% or even 6%, a little bit higher than we would get, then no bueno.
Yeah, 100%. One for
Yeah.
those of you who are available to come to the Rise Up on April 22nd.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you guys gonna cover that, that'd be great. I think that's
Yeah,
exciting.
come join us. We're gonna spend a lot of time talking about these types of things. We'll be analyzing some multifamily stuff because that is the key conversation a lot of people are having. Right now is a good time to get ready for multifamilies and commercial. Fix and flip is tough, and so you might as well fix and flip a bunch of units on the same property than go one at a time. And it's good stuff.
Real
So-
quick, what are your thoughts in these commercial buildings now that they're trying to zone, right? Especially in downtown Honolulu, there's several buildings that they're rezoning from commercial to residential now. I heard about San Francisco. A lot of their commercial buildings are pretty vacant. Any thoughts on that? Turning these commercial buildings business into residential now? Stephen
Yeah.
Davis, Stephen Davis Pacific Center building right across the First Hawaiian Bank, they're doing it right now. So a lot of the tenants there are leaving.
Yeah.
They're converting those to residentials. What are your thoughts on that? Is there any market there for
Huge
investors?
market. Well, huge market because you meet a city need, right? Affordable housing and lack of housing right now. So that's why I see it in Minnesota happening. There's a lot of places converting office buildings because office buildings after COVID started sitting empty. So that's why they're trying to make use of those buildings that are in really good locations, right? So great opportunity. The fact is that you'll need to have a ton of cash because try to imagine converting an office into a residential unit. You need to get bathrooms, kitchens, different windows, different kind of HVAC system. So it's a really expensive rehab. And I was walking a friend of mine through evaluating one of the conversions. And we got to the point where we're just like, man, it seems like it would be cheaper just to rebuild the whole freaking thing. Because you're literally gutting everything and reworking the whole thing. But the good news is there are several cities that actually have grants. So if you're interested in that kind of thing in your city, I'd say go talk to the city and see if they'll give you some grant money or some tax savings. And that's where you could possibly make up for that. But yeah, it's a great opportunity. And they're always in good locations.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing now in that building. They are getting grant money. They're getting
Yeah.
DPP involved to make the process a little bit faster. And definitely there's a lot of restructuring because of the accommodation, like you just said, the windows, the vents, the whole bit. But yeah, it's interesting to see how that's gonna turn out though, and what the price point is for those homes. But thank you.
It's a lot. All right, on everybody, quarter after it's Easter weekend. Hope you all have some great Easter weekend plans. And yeah, if you haven't had a chance to check out Rise Up, Layla, what's the website address? riseup.com. Layla's not even paying attention. So, oh well, it's in the flyer was up there earlier. So if you're able to attend, come check us out in Vegas. It'll be super fun. And I think that's it. Have a great weekend, everybody. I don't know, Corey dug out already, but have a good one. Happy Easter.
Have a good one.